Okay, so it's 4:30 guys, so we can start and those who have not joined they can just watch at recording later on. Let me see if I can also like if the session will be recorded from my end as well. That will be good. So yeah. So let's start. For those who know me, I am Sanket and currently working as a cloud engineer. Started my career as .NET developer, later on move on to DevOps just for exploring the technology and then never back to like .NET. So in short, yeah, I work on many programming languages. So in today's session, we are going to talk about, let me share my screen and let me know if you are able to see the screen or not. I have two screens so I can read the chat as well. So yeah, like if somebody can just comment if they can see the screen or not, that would be yes. Okay, perfect. So before we start, like I'm just assuming like we know most of the people are technical, but for those who are not from like programming language background and everything, I just want to set up this stage as for the monolithic, and before talking about the monolithic and microservices architecture, we want to understand how the things works before everything was there. So I'm just going to explain that. That is going to take 10 to 15 minutes of mine, but everyone will be on the same page after that. So let's start. And if you're not able to see it and you want me to zoom it because of your eye insight or something, please do let me know. That's completely fine. I can do that. Also the theme, if you don't like it, please let me know that as well. So yeah, let's go ahead. Before like anything, let's talk about in 90s how the application were built up. There is one database, like just school database was there, and like people used to read the data from the, I'm not sure if you heard about this Windows app, something like that. So if you search about the Windows app, uh, WinForm, so user used to work on this kind of application. The word was nice, no more web application, no Android devices. The application was like this only. Then later on, like e- everything was into one framework like this. But later on in 2000, web application was developed. Like when a web application was designed, that's where the problem began, because everything was tight coupled here. When I say tightly coupled, means every business logic, everything code was inside this only. So that was the main problem, that user is not like, if you want to extend the application to the web application, you need to duplicate the code. That's where the three-tier architecture came. Here usually in three-tier architecture you like the business logic, and then there is a third layer, like your database layer, that reads the data from your database, and then your UI. So even if your UI is changing, your business logic is still same, like this. So now if I have two applications, like if I have two applications, one is WinForm and one is into the web form, they can use the same business logic. And still, so user, like if I want to change into the customer business logic, I don't need to change into two place. I can just write the business logic here. Those people can refer those library. I'm specifically mentioning this name library. They are not connecting over internet or something. They are just trying to consume this data, like using the library and then writing their code. But also the thing is, it's all over the internet, and like you can just design your web application. Here is your Windows application. Then you can create your another console application. But this is a language dependent thing. That means you need to be dependent upon language. Let's say your business logic is created into .NET framework, then your UI should be created into ASP.NET, MVC, and everything like that. So it's not, once again, loosely coupled. Also, like if you notice, with the time there are many things that has been changed. Like we got Android devices, we got iOS device, and everything, every small thing, consider it as a client. Like I would refer this as a client. That means this who can interact with the your API or something. We will talk about the API. So it is, it increased, like you have Alexa devices, you have Google and everything, so it was very difficult to manage all the things. So that's where the API concept comes. Specifically, we are going to talk about REST API here. So if I want to explain the REST API is nothing but it just gives you data, and it is kind of like it only cares about data, and it really doesn't matter how you consume the data. So that's why if I just go to the weather app, something like that right now. So if I just go, you will see the same weather data on every mobile application, but the UI will change because the sensors are providing the same data and the companies are creating different UI on top of that just to make the user experience better. So that's where the API comes into the picture. API gives the data exactly, like API just give the data, and it's a user's responsibility how they want to consume, whether they want to consume into Angular app, whether into mobile app, whether into Alexa app, really doesn't matter. So yeah, later on, what is now, let's talk about monolithic application. The problem here was solved, like okay, we are going to give the data and user is going to consume the data, but I'm not now talking about UI anymore. I'm talking about what's going on here. Still this part was created into one big application. Like when I say I'm not concerned about this database layer anymore, I'm just concerned about this business logic. So now this business logic contains, which returns me the data, contains whole bunch of thing. Like which thing? Customer module is here, that will give the customer data. Then there is a sales data which are available, then there is a purchase data. So everything is coupled into this single big application. So the problem of, and this is actually known as a monolithic application where everything is coupled together. First problem that has been identified, let's say if I just want to update customer application with some extra feature, and I just updated the customer application, but somehow it did not work in my production. Everything goes down here just because everything is, yeah, everything is bundled into single thing. So that's where the we'll talk like the customer returns the customer data, sales return the sales data, purchase return the purchase data. But I just want to update my customer data. I don't want to update my sales data. So that's where the microservices comes into the picture. Independent, like we will design independent services for them. But before diving into the microservices, I am going to explain what are the other problems with the monolithic application. First is this. Second, I want to create my sales or let's say purchase into another language, Python, let's say as of now. I want to create another thing into Python just because Python provides some kind of data analytics tool. But since my entire application was created into .NET, I cannot make the choice there. And we are going to see that into the example as well, that when we are going to implement it, that how microservices architecture and everything, how we can swap the languages depending upon our need, like very easily, because it is language agnostic. These are not dependent upon languages. So that's the second problem. So what microservices does? Nothing. It takes one part of this, like, and everything it bundles into the small API. And with the help of this API can communicate via different frameworks like event driven programming and everything that we're not going to dive into, because I just want to keep this session very simple. That this is the microservices where you just design small part of chunks that we are also going to design right now, and then we'll see how to do this. So yeah, and then if customer want to consume the purchase data, like when I say customer, that means client. if our client want to consume the purchase data, he will use the purchase API. If he want to use sales data, he will use sales API. If he want to use customer API, he can use customer API, like this. But also, the thing is, if we update the purchase model right now, and if purchase model fails, it is not impacting other, because everything is isolated here. So that's a monolithic versus microservices. So, and as I said, we are going to create the API in this session. So where we are going to create the API, for that I'm going to create one repository. So before that, before moving ahead, I will take questions here on on monolithic and microservices before diving into the next topic, because now we are going to start coding here. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can paste into chat. I'm reading the chat as well. Otherwise, I will take it as no. Perfect. So now let's dive into the code. But before diving into the code, once again, we'll see what we have to develop. So we have to develop 4 tasks. So our first task is, whenever user upload the image, we need to extract the text. So how we can do that? So for that we can just Google how to extract text from image using, see, you can actually, you can just Google like this, how to extract text from, like, text from image, something like that, using Python. But I prefer to use, inbuilt library which are uh, there are inbuilt libraries, also there are inbuilt APIs that you can use. So you can use some libraries for the Python that helps you to extract the text from the image. But since there are already data trained for us, we just want to use Azure services. So right now, since it's a cloud program, we're going to explore the cloud services as well. Okay. So when I search from extract text from image, I got that, okay, I can use some AI cognitive service like that, and it is going to give me the things that I need. So how I can create the resource in Azure? For that I need to log in. Hold on for a second. Okay. So we are just going to create one resource group for this program. Like, what are resource group? Resource group consider everything what we are going to create as a resource, and every small resources will be uh, pasted inside this. Like every small services that we are going to use from Azure will be inside this. That's a logical unit. Resource group, consider it as a logical unit. So first service that we need, and by the way guys, is home clear for you, or do you want me to zoom? If you need that, please let me know, because for me it was clear. So I can just create one service known as a document intelligence. Uh, I Google about this service, document intelligence. We'll see what this service do. So college this, region this, document intelligence service, pricing tier standard, network create. Okay. Meanwhile, this service get. I'm just going to create this. Let it deploy. Meanwhile, I will just clone this code. So I'm just cloning this repository that we have created. So we will have code for this. Perfect. So this is also clone now. Let's go and explore that Azure service that we have created. So yeah, this is the service. What this service does, like document intelligence, and you can just go on to this website. This is known as a recognize. This is known as a studio, where you can just extract the text and everything. These are the different things that you can use. So I can just use, okay, it is asking me for authentication. Just wait for a second. Okay, that's fine. We'll see what it does. So now we have this resource into the place. Actually, I can show you that, but how, this is not redirecting me properly. Okay, that's fine. We'll move, go ahead. So yeah, this is our service. We can start using it, and there are SDKs available, but we are going to code, we are going to use our first SDK in Python. Like, okay, how to, because here you can, whatever the language you can use. I'm more familiar with Python, so I can use Python. And specifically we are going to use just a second, somebody joined this meeting as well. So I'm going to allow him. Okay. So what you can do, you can just go here and I will show like what's the problem right now. If you like if you use this kind of command directly, that what's the problem with that, and why you should not uh, use local development and instead of use Docker development. But before that, I'm just going to use mkdir OCR to text detection. Here is our first folder. I can just create main.py and like this. And every time what I will do, I will just create readme.md file here, so you know what this project is actually doing. So from here, what you can do actually, you can just come here. Like we are going to run this app using this command, and cannot error, cannot import the model. The model main, from where it is trying to run this thing. I guess I have everything installed, hopefully, and if not, we'll see. Perfect. It's running on port 8000. I will open the port here, localhost 8000. Hello world. Perfect. And if you know, when I run this project specifically, I run with the command hyphen hyphen reload. That means if I just make changes here, hello Sanket, I don't need to refresh the app. I can just directly come and my changes is here. So yeah, this is done. So what we are going to do, we are going to create our first API that is going to use this thing. So I'm not going into the exact API, how to use it and everything, because if you click on Python SDK, quick start Python SDK, you can see everything is here, like how to do this particular thing. So I already have the code. We'll just directly paste the code and we'll walk through over the code. But this is a good practice whenever you are creating Python project. What you can do, you can always create the file name as a requirements.txt. That will contains all your requirements for this particular project. requirement.txt, and copy this. These are my dependencies for this project: Azure Core, Azure AI Form Recognizable, and Python multipart. So that are my dependency for this project. Now, what next we are going to do? We are going to first of all, I'm just going to copy the code and let's walk over the code, installing the dependencies, like importing the dependencies that I have created. Why we need cores? Anybody here who, this is the thing that you will face in IT a lot. Like, yeah, sure. Thank you. Actually, I'm not seeing my another screen, so please say it if you're not able to see it. Also, the theme, if it is not fine, please let me know. Okay. Yeah, is it fine now? Or you want me to zoom more? Mm, Zooming, yes. Okay, so anybody here who knows what is CORS issue? CORS. Okay, so imagine you are working on two domains here. One is another domain, like first domain. Like when I say domain, that means abc.com, and you design your API on def.com. How the def.com knows that it needs to accept the request from the abc.com only? That's where you will add the course issue. Otherwise, you will get course cross origin resource sharing issue. That means it cannot accept the things, and it is for our security. So that's where we are going to add the code in future. In future also we are going to use our, in future we are going to write our code, so into this thing, Angular. So here origin I will just say start, like this. Star, that means accept from anywhere. That means accept from anywhere, localhost 4200 or any port, on any port. So that's what we have added here, and you will see this code in my everything, like most of, like everywhere, whatever the projects we are going to create in Python right now, or the Node.js. And then I'm going to create my second API, that is this API, and I'm going to paste the code and we'll walk through the code, and I will show like how the AI comes into picture here. But before that, it is saying that from recognizable key is not found. I can just copy that as well and I can just paste it here. Okay, so what actually it is doing, let me see. Now I will just close this thing, wait here. It is trying to read first of all how it will connect to Azure endpoint. I'm going to copy this, comment this, and I will tell you why I have commented this thing. But here it requires my Azure endpoint, and from where I can get the Azure endpoint for this. If you know this, this is what we have created, and this is my Azure endpoint. This is where I can use my service. So I can just come here and can paste this endpoint service here like this. Second, it requires key. So I will just copy key. I know this session is being recorded. So I will just delete this resource after this thing. So even if this is getting recorded, that's completely fine. I will just copy the endpoint once again and we'll paste the endpoint. Perfect. So that's the two things I required. Now I am saying I am going to accept the request on post endpoint for this method. And for those like if you are not sure about the what are HTTP endpoints, what are GET or POST, we can take another session, because REST is altogether a completely different thing that we can talk about. Here I am accepting file, that means I am going to receive the image file. I am creating the document analysis client. I am reading the image, and then I'm analyzing the data and returning the data. So far, any questions on this code? Because this is how this is done. Our first API is created. But any questions on this code or Azure? I will wait. I will take the questions now. And please ask it. Like no question is stupid, so you can ask it. That's completely fine. Okay, no questions. Perfect. So now, how we will test this thing? Either I can create my UI, but that's not a good practice directly to start creating your UI, or you can use something known as a postman. So postman helps you to test your REST API. Someone is unmuted here. Yeah. Okay. So Postman helps you to test your REST API. So we are going to copy this thing and come here. Perfect. Let's zoom it. Now I already tested a few things. So how the Postman things work? First of all, let's try to understand. It's a good practice that you create collection whenever you are doing something. I can create my collection known as a test collection. Why you need to collect, why you need to group it? Because you can export it at the same time. From here you can create add request. That's your, let's say, test request. And from here you can just copy the data link that you tested right now, localhost 8000. You can just come here, paste it, and here you get the response. That's how you test your API. Any questions on how to test the API? And please guys, unmute yourself and ask question, because it's quite difficult for me to check the chat again and again. So any questions, how to test the API, or you're not sure what is Postman? No.
Can
Yeah.
you please elaborate the Azure more, or the, like from where you get the endpoints and all the things?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Somebody has question. So see, Azure, uh, Azure consists of three things. First of all, you will have your subscription, where you are going to, it is used for billing. Within subscription there is a logical grouping known as a resource group, RG. That is will known as RG. That means it's a, whenever you are working onto the single project, imagine we create the RG, and that really doesn't matter. For us the most important thing is resource. Everything is a resource. Like Google Drive, consider it as one of the resource and everything. So I created this resource, Sanket 3103 document intelligence service. Using this document intelligence service, this is the key and endpoint. From here I get the key and endpoint. Also, if you don't know about how to get started with these services, these are the documentations from Azure. Like you can read it. What is Azure document intelligence, and how to read the text and everything. These are, everything is here. So this is the key endpoint. From here I get um, endpoint. Is that answer your question?
Yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
this is a paid service, right?
Yeah, this is the paid service, but you can call, you can use the free service as well. That will give you 10,000 calls per month, and that's more than enough for this project, right? So you can use that as well. I, since I have the credits, that's why I created the paid service.
So basically we can't proceed without this, right?
You can, you can. That's what I'm saying. You remember the code provided by JD? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, but before diving into, I will come here. Who is speaking right now?
Razi.
Raji, I will get back to this question. Is it mandatory to use this service or not? I will get back to this. But before that, I just want to show you what this service does exactly. Then we'll come back to that. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And second question here is, we don't know Postman. See, buddy, Postman is nothing. Postman is a tool created. You cannot create UI for everything, right? So just to test your API, Postman is going to do. So how you can test your API? You can just go onto the browser and can paste this, and these things work here. Okay, hello Sanket, this completely work here and here as well. But now I will show you why you need Postman. Now our image is listening to slash upload endpoint. So I will just type slash upload and the method is post. And if I just make a call right now, it is saying that file required, that you cannot upload without any kind of UI from the front end. That's why to test your API you need Postman. So how you are going to send the data here? You are just going to click the data, and what is the name I am accepting? I am accepting as a file. So I will just say file, but this won't be text, this will be file. I will just select the file. I have few files, uh personal repo, college assignment, front end, test data, like this. Perfect. So I have uploaded this file and I can just click on this thing, and the file contains the image that known as a 13540, and you can see it returns the data with the 13540. That's what we want, text extraction. And this is not possible with, I'm not sure if anybody can do that, like using the browser without creating the front end. But as of now my task is to just to create every API that we want to create. So our first task was to extract text. So that was our first API and we have done that. Now I am answering Raji's question. Is it mandatory to use the Azure? Absolutely not. What you can do, OCR, text, Python, something like that, or the code which is provided by JD, OCR text. Like if you Google this, extract text using Python, if you read any of this thing, probably it is using some libraries which are free and everything. And I guess somebody from our team also did that with the different with the open thing. But as I said, why you want to reinvent the wheel from the scratch when there is APIs available for you to use it? Okay, so but you can use JD's API as well that he provided. Now, Raji, like, is that answer your question? Like, is it mandatory to use that thing?
Yeah, okay, okay. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So our first thing is done. So far, we have not done any kind of fancy thing. No Docker, nothing, nothing, nothing. But even right now, I don't wanna use Docker right now. I wanna show you why Docker is important for the development purpose. I wanna see, like, I want to show you the actual hands-on for that. So right now, our port is running on 8,000. Okay, this is where I am going to talk about Docker more, because we have created our first API. Now we are going to talk about Docker. But before talking about the Docker, uh, okay, let's talk about Docker first. Here, earlier, we used to do, we used to purchase virtual machines. For those who are not who don't know what are virtual machines, it's kind of a server that you can put, like you can spin up, and where you can deploy the your web applications. So on your virtual machine you install some kind of software known as IIX, NGINX, whatever. These are the web servers that you use. You deploy that software. On top of that, you deploy your applications like this. But the problem is, what is the problem with virtual machines? First of all, cost. If you look at the cost of the virtual machine, it's really expensive, really, really expensive. And imagine I want to run three applications, app 1, app 2, okay. And we are talking about Docker right now. How the Docker comes into the picture? App 1, app 2, app 3, and everything is created. Let's take a simple example, any programming languages, and every app is on version 1 right now of that programming language. Version 1, version 2, and version 3, like this. So every app is into the sorry, every app was into the same version, version 1, version 2, and version 3, and this is deployed onto the same virtual machine. Now somehow I need to update this app 1, but for that I need to change the DLL or any dependencies that is required for that version. As soon as I change upgrade this version to 2, these two apps stop working. Don't know why. Don't ask me why this stop working, just by upgrading the dependencies. So this is known as a matrix of hell, where you are upgrading one of your app and it is impacting other because it is installed onto the same thing. So yeah, that's was the problem with the virtual machine. Then something known as a hypervisor comes into the picture. Let's talk about hypervisor now. What are hypervisor? Same, we have virtual machine. On virtual machine, let's say I have a Windows virtual machine. I am talking here right now. On Windows virtual machine, I have 200 GB of not 200, let's say 1000 GB of thing, and 60 GB of let's say 64 GB of RAM, something like that. So what I can do, I can actually I can actually segregate this, and I can spin up different virtual machines on top of that virtual machine. Oracle Virtual Box is one of your example, right? So you use something known as a hypervisor. On top of that hypervisor, it's within the same virtual machine. You are not creating another virtual machine. What you are doing, you are spinning up another virtual machines, virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, and virtual machine 3, like this. This is the and you are installing your app 1 here, send to back, uh, send to back, perfect. This also send to back, perfect. App 1, app 2, app 3, everything works on as of now version 1, and these are separate virtual machines, by the way. Version 2 and version 3, sorry, version 1, version 1, and version 1. Now if I just upgrade this to version 2, since this is isolated, this is not going to impact one of this my thing. So hypervisor was good, like everybody was so happy about the hypervisor. But here there is one problem with the hypervisor. As I said, intentionally I have mentioned 1000 GB just to run your web application. It install the entire virtual machine for you, like sound driver, graphic driver, any driver, xyz driver, blah 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 blah, list goes on. And it consumes your, like, let's say it consumes 200 GB of your this source. So now you left with 800, then 200 here you left with 600, 200 here you left with 400, just to run one web application. You are creating multiple hypervisor. That was the problem, dependency issue and everything. Here we have dependency issue, here we solve the dependency issue, but at what cost? We solve the dependency issue on the basis of size. We are reducing the size of this thing, we are consuming more size, and we don't want that. Just to run one this simple application, I don't want to consume like 200 gigs of space. I don't need that virtual machine things, because whenever you install some kind of virtual machine, default things comes into the picture. How Docker fix this problem? Docker says that, hey, you install the virtual machine, like you add the virtual machine. On top of that, just run one software known as a Docker, so far same, and use something known as a image. Now what are image are meant to be created for the small things. Like if I want to run web application, I will use nginx image. I don't need whole virtual machine components there. I just need web server. I don't need graphics driver, I don't need video driver, I don't need sound driver. What I'm supposed to do with the sound driver? Nothing, right? If I just want to run the web application. So they removed most of the part that you don't need and just created the image that you required. So imagine if this is taking 200 gig. uh, okay guys, it is saying your call will end in 15 minutes, so I will send another link, so we will join there. Is that okay? Because if I want to extend, I need to pay for that. Perfect. Yeah, I will send the link shortly here, or before that, before this call ends, let me just create a meeting link for later. I sent the link into chat. We will join there. That's completely fine. Okay, so now Docker just take very minimum thing. Like, how I can explain this? You don't need many things. Like if you just want to run one web application, you require web server. You don't need sound driver. You don't need graphic driver. So this space of 20 GB just converted into like your application size, like 200 MB, something like that. And you see how much things you are saving. A lot. You are actually saving a lot here, because you just reduce your size from 200 gigs to 200 MB. So consider, image is like a blueprint where you can just use it, and it just contains the file that you require. Now what are containers? Image is here. Let's say image is a blueprint. From that blueprint you can create multiple containers. And why you need multiple containers? Containers are the isolated environment. When I say isolated, I just don't mean it. I'm going to show you what isolation directly means. But you can spin up multiple containers, like for the things. So that's all about Docker. Like why you need Docker, how Dockers, and what is Kubernetes. I'm going to explain that in short. You have multiple containers. Kubernetes is nothing but the orchestration tool. So consider Kubernetes as a parent for containers that is going to monitor how many, let's say, if I want 100 containers to be run, and if my container just got turned off, Kubernetes is going to manage on different servers or clusters or nodes, whatever you say it, that hey, are the 100 containers are running? If not, if some container crash, it is going to spin up again. So that's Kubernetes does. Kubernetes, before Kubernetes there was a Docker Swarm. The good thing about the Docker Swarm is easy to install, easy to use, but it does not provide industry based feature. Kubernetes provides industry based features that is helps you to manage your containers. So from virtual machine we move to hypervisor. From hypervisor uh, we move to containers, and that's where we are currently. And apart from that, if you want to learn about Docker more,
But
repository,
how Docker like help you to compress so much size and do all the things?
because it does not require like additional things. As I said, whenever you install any kind of virtual machine, like let's say, have you ever installed Windows on your system or Linux on your system? It comes with lot of things, audio driver and graphic drivers and everything. So what it says that hey, I don't need this thing. Like if you look at the nginx image size, nginx image size, so it's like base image is like 5 MB only, because they removed all these things. They said hey, we just want only web server. We don't want all that shit that helps you to run the things. We just want like web server component install onto that thing. We don't want anything else. Yeah. As I said, matrix of hell. This is a matrix of hell. Like you can see from the image, this is what I have explained right now. Matrix of hell. Also, if you want to learn Docker and want to perform some task, so you see, this is the answer, Razi, to your question. Like containers versus the virtual machines, it takes time. Here the boot up size is less, utilization is less, and everything, because I don't need many drivers need to be installed. So if you want to learn Docker, and if you want to practice some task, I have created this repository for like few months back when I was learning this thing here. There are tasks as well that will ask you to perform few tasks. Like for example, run the Ubuntu container into the detached mode. And if you don't know how to perform that particular task, so there are task solutions.md which have the answers for all of these things. Link into the chat. Any questions on Docker now? Because Docker is, we are going to talk again and again and again.
I have a question about the containers. Like you have mentioned that we have to install the services in the containers. So we can install multiple services in a single container. Is that right?
Yeah, we can. And you just install what is required for your app. So
Okay.
let's say for my app, we are going to see when we are going to do the text to speech where we need additional dependencies. We are not happy with the fast API or the Alpine image. We need some additional software. So what we can do, there are image, Ubuntu or whatever, let's say Alpine image, and on abc image, what you can do, you can use that abc image as your base image, and you can create your own image by installing some additional softwares. Okay, Kashif.
Yeah. So let's suppose that we have a base image of ABC. We have installed 5x services on top of that. So
Yeah.
now that's my custom image.
Yeah.
So that image is part of container, or like
No,
what's the
no.
difference between these two?
Yeah,
Container
exactly.
and
That's a really good question. So what we will do after this, let's say we created our, we use some base image right now. Okay, we are going to use fast API base image right now. After that, we are going to add our code there, and from that we are going to create one image. Now your image is there, but you are not running containers. As I said, image is your blueprint. So like if I just say blueprint, oops, so image is like your blueprint is this. From that blueprint you can create different kinds of things, like different containers with the different flavors. Like you can create one container for production, one container for dev, like that. So you can spin up multiple containers. And actually, just give me, like I noted this thing, give me like additional 15 minutes, that will answer your question. And I noted this. Okay.
got it. One more question. Like we have one container. Okay, so we will be deploying all services in that.
No, 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 no. That's
Okay.
not true. What we are going to do, we are going to create multiple images, like one for the OCR to text, one for another thing, one for another thing, like this. As of now, we have extract, text extract, so we can create our Docker container from that easily. Okay. So let's how about these guys? Now let's jump onto the another meeting, like the meeting link which I have provided. From there we take it. Okay, it will be
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, it will be, and I will answer your questions there. Okay, perfect. I'm joining that session now. Yes, our recording guy is here now. So yeah, so now we have this image. How we are going to create the container with this? Very interesting thing. So first of all, to create the container, you should have, as I said, software. You remember this architecture diagram where we said on virtual machine you should have software installed that is known as a Docker. So I already have the Docker installed. If you don't have the Docker installed, please install Docker. Okay, that I would just say. Let's move on to the next thing. I will stop this application. Like, okay, that is done. Now, how to create Docker? Okay, perfect. How to create the Docker image, Docker file. We want, whenever we want to create something custom, we go and do like Docker file. That's how we create our Docker image, custom Docker image. How to create our first Docker image? So just a second, I'm going to copy the code once again and will explain you what it does. Here, so many code, but I will make sure that I'm making easy for you guys. So let me remove the unnecessary part. Let me remove this as well. Perfect. So let's see how these things work. And from here, you are going to see how the Docker is important. Perfect. Will come here. Why it is not coming here? Where I have made copy that file. Okay. So let's try to understand. From Python 3.9, that is a base image. Whenever it comes like from, it is known as a base image. See, set the base image for the subsequent instruction from must the instruction. So this is my base image. That means this image will have Python 3.9 installed on this. This is really important. This will come, this this will come with Python install in it. Second, working directory. Here I am saying that my working directory, I say, think it as from where my code will run or my container will start. From here, whenever you go into the container, you will see this. You are automatically into this. Second thing I am doing, anyone who don't know here the Python basic step, let me, actually I'm going to teach you something that is not related to Python, but that is going to help you to learn DevOps and everything as well. Take it any programming language. First of all, there are a whole bunch of programming language, but that is, if you think logically, this, every programming language, why I can code into the multiple programming language? There are only four types of programming language: impressive, functional, logical, object oriented. Like these are the four programming language. Take any programming language that can be do one thing. Like Python can do all of these things, where C only can do functional programming. C++ can only do object oriented programming language, like this. So every programming language is split into four programming language on high level. So now if I just come here, every programming language, as I said, cancel, decide later. Take any programming language, you have to follow the few steps. Number one, install the framework. And why I am mentioning that, some of you might interested in DevOps thing where you want to learn about creating the pipelines and everything. So install the framework. Framework can be Python, Node, .NET, blah blah blah. I don't care. Second important thing is you install the dependency. Install the dependency. Now, from where you install the dependency? That's really nice question that I ask myself. you install the dependency from package manager. So for Python, the package manager is pip. For Node, the package manager is npm. For .NET, the package manager is NuGet, like that. Perfect, like this. Once you install the dependency, you build that program. So this is, I will consider this as a one step. Now, once this is done, you build the program. You run the test cases from here. If you have test cases, you run the test case, and if your test cases run, you deploy the code. Deploy the code like this. So you do like exactly like this. So I will wait here. This is really important. If you want to take screenshot of this, I'm going to zoom it. Take the screenshot of this, and those who are working with the DevOps engineer, you know what I'm talking about and why this is important. Because when you write your pipeline, I have make it very clear. People usually confuse them by saying, hey, you need to install Angular, you need to install this, blah blah blah. No, you just need to install framework, you need to install dependency, you need to build the code, you need to run the code, and you need to deploy the code. Now ChatGPT will help you with that, so I'm not going to help you with this. So back to the code. Here we are using copy requirement.txt. What is requirement.txt? It contains my dependency. I can install one dependency like this: pip install this, pip install that, everything. Not a good practice. What you do, you write all of your dependency in this file, and from this file you just copy that file into your code directory. This is from your local directory. This is copying into the container. Left side local, right side container, like this. Once it is done, you are going to install dependency. You are going to install the another dependency known as a fast API and unicorn. You are going to copy your source code and you are going to just run it. So that's the thing, you are going to do it. So how we can just now build the image from this? So how to build the image from this is really easy. What you can do, you have to say docker build hyphen t. First of all, docker images. Okay, I'm going to remove all of my images from here, all of my containers from here. Just give me a second. Containers deleted, images deleted. Perfect. No images here. So what is this T? Docker build. Hey Docker, please build. And by default, it will take Docker file. And my tag for this image is OCR text detection backend. And I will change the OCR text detection backend. I will just copy this. I will run this, and you will see what it is happening. It is downloading the base image for me, loaded metadata. It is installing my dependencies for me, and it is done. And if I just type docker images, uh, I forgot the name. Somebody asked me like last in the last meeting question. It was Kashif. Yeah. So Kashif, this is how you create your custom image. As of now, we have not run the containers, but your blueprint is ready. Okay. Mm, yeah. Yeah. You have your hand raised. You can unmute yourself. That's fine.
Yeah, got it. I have a question like why you have added the dot at the end when you were executing the
When I say
command.
dot,
Yeah.
that means in my current directory, there is a Docker file. like that.
Okay, okay.
Dot.
And if it's somewhere else, we have to give the path of that.
Yeah, exactly. You can
Got
just
it.
give like dog slash blah blah blah. We'll see that as well.
Got it.
Okay. So now my image is ready. How I can run the container from this? How I can run the container from this? This is really easy. I can just type, hold on for a second, ignore this command. Uh, okay, okay. Somebody is requesting to join the session. It is Sarah. Yeah, hey Sarah. So how you can run the session? How you can run the container? Docker run -p. What is p? Port. Okay. I want to run this service on port 4042 on my local, and here automatically a fast API runs on port 80. So that's another thing. And I want to run it on interactive mode. So there are two modes that you can run in Python: interactive and detach. I'm going to run in into the interactive mode. Interactive mode, you will get it within 2 minutes. What is interactive mode? I run this, it started 4202. And interactive, I am within the shell of that container. And if I run with nothing, it will just create the container and will go back. So you can see my service is running on 4202. If I just go here and run 4202, you can see it's running. We run our first container, guys. You can clearly see that. Any questions? I will wait and we'll take the questions now. Azul.
Um, if
Yeah.
if we have like we have deployed this code and fast API is currently running on this board, right?
Mhm.
If I want to install, let's say, another software or service on this, let's say PostgreSQL, okay,
Yeah.
can I install that on this Docker container,
You,
or I have to?
you can use like this run command. I will just say install postgres, but that's not a good practice. What you can actually do, you can spin up the another container with the postgres and these containers will talk. But if I just have to give some like additional thing, install uh, some third party antivirus, something like that. So you can just like run this command and can install whatever the software you want. Run apt get update, and then you can just run your own software here, like that. And we will do that, Kashif. Like on to our, I remember, text to speech, we will do that. So that's how you run your first container. uh, Anybody else is having any questions? Perfect, no questions. Okay.
I have another one.
Yeah, go ahead, ask. That's fine.
So yeah, basically, we have like started this like Docker container on a single port. Like it's basically giving a service on 4202 in the Docker container and 80 on our local.
No, you said it opposite. 4202
Okay,
on my side, and local on that side. On to
80 is on the Docker side and 4202 on my local side.
Yes, exactly. You're right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I have to deploy another service in this container, so I can do that. Like
No, that's what I'm saying. Docker is used for isolation. We deploy our first
okay,
service as a microservice. Okay. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
So for each service, there will be a single Docker container,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
those containers will communicate with each other,
Because
and
they are on
that's
same
how
network.
that's gonna work.
Yep.
Got
Exactly.
it.
You're
Got
right.
it.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Our first microservices is running. Let's create our another microservices. And now, as of now, I have not showed you the Docker magic. I intentionally don't want to show you that, but I remember I showed this to Komal, like when she was into the class, and that we are also going to see. But let's quickly create our second service, and that second service name will be number to word. Like this will be our number to word. Here we are going to use app.js, like express.js, because I want to show you into the different programming languages how the microservices work. And cd dot dot cd number, and what I'm going to do right now, okay, that's fine, cd number to word code dot, perfect. Here I'm just going to say npm init. What it is doing, it created one file package.json. Within this package.json, I'm just going to add few things like this, and just going to type npm install for me, since it is going to install the dependencies for me. Here is my app.js. Within app.js, I can just simply copy this code, paste it here, going to remove few things for you guys. I don't want this convert function as of now, because I want to keep it very simple. Function this, uh, app.get API, like this. Hello from the server. Okay, our hello world program is ready. That will listen on port 3000. Express.js listen on port 3000. How we are going to start this? So we can just a second, how to start this project. I guess npm start, if I'm not wrong. Perfect. It is listening on port 3000. How to test the API? As I said, no more UI, OCR to text. Now imagine I got this text. This is my post method. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to create another request known as a text to word. I'm going to type the same URL here on port 3000. Just type enter. Hello worlds, perfect, because that is returning from my, let's see, it is returning from my server. So my express.js is working now. It is easy when I do this, because I know what I'm doing. This is, I'm creating the another API. So coming back to our diagram, I don't want to lose somebody here. So coming to our diagram, we have our first API ready, and I'm going to delete this now. Okay, we have our first API ready that extract the text. We are creating our second thing that is going to convert the number to word, like this. So this is ready. This is right now we are creating. So how we can do this number to word thing? Now, just to number to word thing, you need to add your logic now. What logic you are going to add? I already have that logic. We'll just go through that logic now. So the logic is very simple. It is going to accept the thing on convert endpoint. So let's try to hit slash convert, and missing numbers parameter. Here you can just part numbers is equal to 123, and it returns the converted text as the 123. That's it. And if you want to see the code, how to get this code, you can just go to the chat gpt and ask it, like, hey, can you just give me the code to convert numbers from word, like this, and it will give you this code. Any questions here? Or you want me to explain the code as well, because learning code might doesn't make any sense here. We are come here to learn the concepts. The are the apt apt command are just for the third party? Komal ask. For the docker, no, like you can, depending upon your operating system, whatever the dependencies you want to install. For example, whenever in the docker file you run something with run command, like if I just come here and just type run, in front of this run, whatever the shell command you run, it will try to run that. And apt command is just for the third party. Yes, you can install the, it's like a, as I said, package manager. Whenever, like for Mac you have homebrew, right? You install everything using the brew, but I guess for the Ubuntu or everything you use apt, something like that. Yeah. So let's dockerize this thing as well. Now I want team to tell me how to dockerize this instead of I am doing this. What was the first step to dockerize the container?
First was to identify the dependencies and create a requirement.txt file.
That is requirement.txt is for Python. Okay.
Okay,
For Node.js, we have package.json. Okay.
okay, got it.
So first step is create the Docker file. Okay. And once you have your Docker file created, what you are going to do here is how to install. We need to find the base image. I know for Node.js the base image is Node. Okay. Then second thing is set the working directory. I know the working directory for the Node.js is this. Then you are just going to copy everything to the app folder that we have created, because the Node.js serves from this app folder. Next thing, you install the things, run npm install, and once you have npm install, you can expose the port 3000, and once it is done, you can just run the command like npm start, like this. Even if you don't have this, I don't think so there will be issue like this. So but this is not important, this you can get from Google. Readme.md, how to create, how to now create this image from this readme.md. So what you can do, second step, we have our file. I just want to move this into the chat now just to see. Docker file install base image, perfect. Vishal says that docker build dot, here you can just give the tag hyphen sorry, hyphen t, uh, number, two words, dot, like this. Perfect. Our second image is installing the dependencies. Perfect. If we just type Docker images, we have now two images, one for the backend, second for the Docker number two word. Now, how to run this? Docker run hyphen p. Uh, what port I can use? 4203, let's say 4203, and here number 3000 hyphen d number two words. I will run this time in detach mode, or maybe interactive is fine since we're during development. I will just run the container. It says that nodeman not found. Perfect. We got the error. Nodeman not found because nodeman is required for the thing. So how to install the nodeman? Like that's it. I did the change, and now if I did the change, you will think that okay, my image will be ready to use. No, you need to build your image once again. And if you see this, will it will be faster because I just change one layer. Understand what is the layer architecture in Docker file. And if you want to learn about layered architecture, Docker layered architecture, like this. Docker actually work on layer basis. So if you have not changed 4 lines, it is already cached. And if you write only line 5, so only that thing is going to install from beginning. Rest it is not going to do that thing. So we have our Docker container build. Now we can just run Docker run. Perfect. Our service is running on 4203. Now we can just go on to Postman, replace this port with 4203, and send the request, and it worked. Okay, so we have our second service ready. Any questions? I will stop and will take it. I will check the chats. And if somebody can assist me while reading and if somebody is having any questions and they don't want to unmute yourself and someone can help me to read the questions, that would be great because I have multiple screens and I need to check. So far, no questions. Now I will wait. Any questions here, guys?
I just want to ask.
Mhm.
I just want to ask that everyone is not like familiar, maybe not familiar with Node.js or React one.
Mhm.
So like how to manage and to how to like like how to manage the steps and like how to like firstly we have to do this, then secondly we have to do this,
Okay.
thirdly we have to do
Yes,
this.
yes.
It was like bit hard to for us to understand like if someone is not familiar with Node.js maybe.
Okay.
So
So, if you remember, Razi, I explain that into the thing. Okay, let's start from beginning. If I don't know how to start the project, okay. So I know that I did it very fast. So now I will take a step back. Now you don't know anything. Like let's say I don't know anything about how to create the app into the Express.js. So what I will do here, you required googling how to. First of all, what is the thing I am going to Google? I should know. I will just create API framework for Node.js like this, and here are some popular framework for Node.js. Top 5 Node.js REST API framework. As you see, the first thing that comes into everybody's minds is Express.js. You can use Feather.js, Loopback, Next.js, anything, anything, anything. So my next thing is okay, Express looks familiar. Then I can just ask like get how to create Express, okay, JS project, hello world. Or you can ask ChatGPT as well. I'm using this. So now it says that okay, this is the thing, but I don't trust this, like whether it is going to work or this. Better to read the Medium document. So it says first of all you need to install Node, as I said, like you need to install Node. That's my first step. If you remember, you need to install the framework. Then second step, create the directory, go on to the directory, initialize your package management. That's my second step. For Node, the package management is npm. Now, once you are done with this, npm init helps you to initialize the package management. Then all you can do is npm install Express this thing, follow this thing, understand the basic of the code, copy this and paste this. Now, if you don't know what this code do, all you can do is go to the chat gpt, ask it, hey, can you help me to explain this code, and it will do that for you. Like okay, this is my code looks like. But if you follow this step, like whenever Razi you are starting with any project, let's say you don't know anything about Python, first thing you will Google what you want to create. So you will Google about, hey, how I can create the uh, how I can create the REST API in Python. It will say use fast API. Your next question will be how to create my first fast API. I'm pretty much sure you are going to use these two steps again and again. And for deployment, you require this rest of the three steps. So your question is valid if you don't know about anything. That's why I took two different programming languages. I could have stayed with Python, but just to get out of the comfort zone, like people from Group 5 knows that I don't know Express.js at all. We decided to go with the Express.js because we want to get out of the comfort zone. Yeah. Now I will I will answer this question like in this way that which one you should learn. If 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 anybody want to interested, like if anybody is interested in knowing which language they should choose, so because I can tell you about that. Okay, nobody's interested, that's fine. So for this you have to follow these steps. Like you remember this chart, install the framework Python, then install the dependencies. And I know that you guys are from different background. Not everybody comes from the software development background. So learn one programming language, at least one programming language. Doesn't matter which one. I can help you to choose depending upon your requirement, like what you want to become. But yeah, this is the thing, you need to at least learn one programming language, whether it's Python, whether it's Node, whether it's .NET or anything. And once you learn one programming language, you will understand what I'm trying to say here, like these dependencies and everything. Okay, any other questions, guys?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Like we did build an API in the Python
yeah,
previously. Okay. So in this container, we are only making a single function that's basically converting our input in the numbers format to the you can say the words format, like one,
yeah,
two, three. Okay.
yeah.
So why couldn't we have done that in the Python over there? Like we just had to write a single function and we can easily use the response of previous function in this and we can call this from there.
See, that's what I'm saying here. Think about, right now this is a small project, okay, but you remember
Okay.
how we started this project? We have customer API, we have sales API, right? And sales might have thousands of APIs within that, okay, or five, let's say 200 APIs. So sales, right now we are creating only one API within this, but I can, you can say that we are not even creating one API, we are creating at least four API within that. If I just remove this part here and just run this is my second API. Okay, so every project is having different intentions. And if you remember the matrix of hell, if I want to change something in OCR to text in future, that should not affect my another project. That is the intention. Think it like an industry point of view. This is just a college project that we are doing right now. Okay, so that's why it looks easy, but when you look at from the bigger perspective, so you will get to understand that okay, I need to have different projects for different thing. And you are right, we can simply copy this code, convert into Python, deploy into the same path or same file. But do you think that is going to then we are going on to the monolithic architecture, Kashif, once again.
Mm, got it. Got your point.
Yep. Okay, any more questions, guys, before we go ahead with the next step?
Okay, I have a question. In the like Docker file, the when we specify the port number, we have to make sure that our external port in our local host is
Yeah.
available. But for containers, the port on the like left side, we can give any port.
Yes, on left side you can give the port which is available on your system. Right hand side you can give anything. Like
Okay.
that. Yeah. So the next part will be very interested in this project because I'm going to crash this app for you guys now. And I did this with Komal. I remember, like when I was in the classroom, we crashed my app intentionally. So I will wait here and we'll take more questions. But Komal, for answer of your question, left is your local port, right is your container port that your web app listen to. Yeah. And these cannot be same for all the containers. Like 4203 for my container one, 4203 for, let's say if I just run this command into my another terminal. Nice. I will see that 4203 is already allocated. Okay. Okay. I
But
assume.
for like 3000, we have like this port where the Express is running,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
The
we have
3000.
configured that
Yeah,
for 3000. So
yeah.
we can't change the 3000.
That you can. Why not? But why you want to change the default port, which is that's what I am going to show next. Kashif, I will come back to this
Okay.
like
No,
within 15 minutes.
like I just want to clear one doubt. Like if we want to change it here, we will have to change it in the app.js or where
Exactly,
we are.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
got it.
But that's the beauty of Docker. You don't need to change this. I'm going to
Yeah,
show you that
yeah.
within like within next 15 minutes this is going to answer your question.
Got it.
Yeah, any more question, guys? Assuming no, let's move on to our next API then. Our next API is translate API. But before that, before creating the translate API, I'm going to show you something really interesting now. I am going to create one app here. The name will be what name? Word translator, because we are going to translate the word here. Cd word translator code dot perfect main.py, because we are going to use Python for this. And using Python, what I really want is copy this, paste this. I'm going to delete this entire code for you. Just remember the course will be here. I don't want this. Perfect. HTTPX. And here it's not rocket science for me as of now, anything. Yeah, simple app, right? No rocket science. I'm going to create readme.md for this as well. It is going to simple return the hello essay. Why don't I, like, instead of essay, hello world, something like this. Now readme.md, what I can do, I can just simply run this thing like this. It is saying that it is running on port 8000. And you remember our first API that we created into our, where is our first API? Now I'm not going to run this API within the container. I'm going to run it outside. And as soon as I run, here you go. As I promise, I'm going to break this app. Any idea what is this? And I'm not using, I mean, I'm just using local development. It is saying already in use. That's not even Docker. So now I want you to think about it for a minute, and why this issue comes. Like, where is the issue? Okay, issue is here. Yeah, already in use. What's this issue? Okay, somebody want to speak? Yeah, go ahead, Kashif. Sorry, Kashif, you're not audible, unfortunately.
Hello. Am I audible
Yeah,
now?
you are
Okay,
no.
great. So is it the fast API thing? Like we are using the fast API in the previous container,
Yeah,
and we
not
have
not
like
even the container. Remember this thing. I
in
stopped.
the image.
Not within the image itself. As I said, forget about the Docker, forget about everything. As of now, I'm just running this as normal Python app. So this worked. But when I try to run another thing, it is giving me the error because that port is not available.
Yeah.
By
Yep.
default, it use port 80. So now,
Mm.
guys, remember the matrix of hell? Let's fix the shit now. How we'll fix it? Our first app, now we won't run anything within the, we won't run anything inside, we won't run anything in local now. How to use Docker for development purpose. And I want you to pay, if I am taking your interview and you said you know Docker, that will be my first question to you. How you use Docker for the local development? And if you're not able to answer this, then you don't know Docker at all. That's my assumption. So how to run this thing? Now, you remember we run this thing, Docker run this thing and everything. But you should know basic of the programming language. Whenever you run any app you run, in my Docker file, I am just saying unicorn run this app on host port 80 blah 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 blah, something like that. Even if you change the port, it is not going to work. That's the first thing, and it's not a good practice. How I am going to run this? First of all, I want to, whenever I do some changes, I will run this container like this for you. I run this container. I will come to port 4202 on my machine now. 4202 Sanket. But as of now, I'm going to change from, I'm going to change the name from Sanket to Super Sanket like this. And if you see, I'm refreshing. No, I don't want that. I want it should be refresh, right? That's the intention. That's a local development we're using. How we can do, because this container is not running into the development thing, that will be your first assumption. So what you will do here, you will just add one parameter hyphen hyphen reload. This is going to help you to reload the things. If I just add this, come here, refresh this thing, still the same code is here. I can see the changes has not been done, and I cannot then how to make this super sanket available here. First thing that you are going to do is build the docker image. I know I'm sounding stupid, but just give me a few minutes, I will explain you why I'm saying like that. Second, run the container, come here, super sanket is here. If I just change to super sanket to sanket here, come here, refresh this, nothing is happening. Why? Because it is not using that file directory. How we can do that? It's very easy. If you use common sense, somehow container is an isolated environment. If any changes is happening here, I want to inform the container. What I can do here is I can bind the volume here. When I say bind the volume, that means how I am going to do that. Really easy. I am going to say hyphen v, hyphen v, that means volume. Anybody knows what pwd command is used for? Pwd, if I just type pwd, it is going to return me my current thing. Okay, and why I am adding here, that's fine. So yeah, so now coming here, pwd, that means my current working directory. Map it to code slash app. When you do like this, it is saying whenever I do the changes, mount this within this directory. And now what is this code slash app, you will ask me? Fast API works from this code slash app. That's why we are trying to mount that directory to there. Now you will see the magic of Docker. 4202 Sanket. I'm just coming here, super Sanket. Perfect. Kashif, is that answer your question? Like how, like now whenever you are doing the changes, port is already used. Okay, Vishal says that. That was correct guess, Vishal. So now this is how I can do local development without even changing the port 80. So that's my first step. You will say you are just making us fool. We are not understanding like how it is working. So what I can do, I can just copy this line now. I can just come here, the another app that we have created, word translator. And instead of doing the local development, what I will do, I will just type docker file. This is my docker file. And within this docker file, I will just copy the exact same content. See, that's the beauty. You just need to know how to copy paste. That's it. Third thing you are going to do is you are just going to build this image. How to build the image? Docker build blah blah blah. I'm just going to copy that. I have it with me. Docker build like this, translator, image is getting built. And now requirement, someone is here into the meeting. Admit all, admit. Okay, more 15 minutes, and I guess we are over the time as well. But yeah, and this will be the last topic that I'm going to show. Then I will walk you through the rest of the code. Docker build word translator, you can see it is not it is giving me the error now. So what I can do here is I can just type requirements.txt. Within the requirement.txt, I need one dependency for this project, that is httpx, and in the main.py I commented this out. Now I can just type docker build. This is done. Okay, now I am going to run this container on port. See, we were getting the error because the port 80 was not available on local. So if you look at these two common things that I am running, like if I just show this one, where is my readme? Here also it is 80. Here also it is 80. I don't need to change the code for that. I just need to change the main port that I am running from the that I'm running to my host. And if I just go here, this works. So I solve the dependency problem. And I'm pretty much sure whenever you will hear this question into interview, you will remember this session, how to do the local development with the Docker. Any questions on this, guys? I guess that was too much, or you don't understand, because I was expecting questions on this topic at least. Okay, how you will learn about the Docker volume? Go to my document, Google about volume, like volume. Here it is. Create the mount directory. What are volumes? How to watch volumes and everything you will find about volumes here. So yeah, now the another service for this translation that use is we can use our that's fine, we can use our existing service known as a translator, that is the Azure service provided by anything. You can select in, okay, and I will just provide like, hi, I am Sanket, and it is going to convert that into this thing, translation service. Once again, no need to start the wheel from the scratch, just simply use it. These are the endpoint that you can use, these are the keys that you can use. And so I will just copy the code that I have, since now we are running out of time really quick. I will just do that for you. Where is my thing? And I will just walk through all the code. Perfect. Word translator. Perfect. So this is the word translator, and here it requires translation subscription key. So my translation subscription key is this. And don't worry, like after this, even if it is, I know this is getting recorded, I will delete this as I said. So yeah, this is done. Perfect. Translation text endpoint. This is my endpoint, if I'm not wrong. This is my endpoint, and my location is East US. Perfect. Now, of course, we are going to use this translate endpoint that is going to accept text and two text that represent in which language I need to translate, like which text I want to translate, and this represent to which language I need to translate. And it's a post request once again. So I will just go to my postman really quick. Where is my postman? Yeah, here it is. Nice, thanks. I will just duplicate this. Perfect. And here we can just rename this as translate 4204. and we can just say, I will just copy the endpoint. Endpoint is translate. Method is post. Body raw JSON text to this. So let's say I am saying, hello, I am Sanket. No, morning. Let's say, let's try to convert that into Hindi because that's my language. Let's see. Namaste, Suprabhat. Translate the things for me. Cool. So that's our third API, guys. I know it's a kind of a huge session, but any questions on our third API that were used? I know you will have, but oh, sorry, I forgot to go through over the code, right? So no rocket science. Copy this from the document, Microsoft document that use this parameter, that use this header, and I'm just sending that and using that as a HTTP request to make to call to Azure. So nothing special I am doing. If you are familiar with coding, you will see he's not doing anything rocket science. He's just calling the APIs from this. Any questions on this? Assuming no. So yeah, actually we are left with two things that I'm pretty much sure that I cannot cover within like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, because the another two service that is left is text to speech, and we have to create our front end with that. So I can show you how the end things look like exactly. I will just stop this now, and the code will be available on my GitHub repository for this, what we have done today. I will close this as well. I want to close everything. This as well. And this as well. So how the final output will look like, I can show you. So I have this code with me, and this is the same code that we have talked right now. And I want to go through the Docker compose as well, but as of now we don't have time. So if I just run one command, Docker compose up, like this, so it is building the images, everything for me. It is doing all the things which are required. Last project, see, it is building all the projects out of this. That's why you use Docker compose. You don't need to spin up the single container. You can bind the containers together and can run it. Driver programming fed on connectivity area already in use. Perfect. I need to delete the containers. Images should be there. Container I need to delete. Perfect. Now my service is running. I can just simply go here. Now I can just type localhost 4201. Hello, there is no cloud. It's someone else's computer. Perfect. And then I can just go here. Personal repo, college assignment, front end, test data. This. I can just click on upload image. it is going to show you the mat icon that I have used for Angular. And I hope this meeting is still on. Yeah, it is. So it converted the text, it converted the same thing. So this part we are already done. We are also done with this part, like we can convert, but we have not done with this speech synthesis and creating this front end. So if you see, yeah, so yeah, that's it guys, like that's it for this session. Like it was 2 hours long, so still we are left with two things. Yeah, but I will check in the code. Any questions now? Last time before we end this session. Sanket, are you upload your task to GitHub? No, I want to remove the keys. I'm not getting time for that, but I will upload that.
So I have a question. Like we have developed like three different services. So how we manage this? Like there should be something you can say the
Kubernetes.
control panel or like
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. Okay.
Exactly. That's why the or Docker Swarm. I'm managing it with Docker Compose. Docker Compose is most for the local development. Like
Hmm.
you can just run one command and can, all your containers is up and running.
Got it. But like in the uh, on the production level, people use Kubernetes for managing
Kubernetes.
the different
Exactly.
containers.
Kubernetes. Kubernetes is the Kubernetes. Yeah, it won't go anywhere. Like at least for 3 to 4 years now.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions, guys, or any feedback?
And one more question, like we
Yeah.
mounted the local directories into the volume, right?
Yeah.
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 So when we compiled the container, so what it did, it copied the code from there or?
When you mount it, like when I
Mhm.
say mount it, that means it detect the changes whatever is done. I will give you the best example of mounting. When you, why you mount the things, think it as a container is a short term live containers. Okay, so it cannot live for long time. If something happened, the data within the container got vanished. That's the beauty of the
Mhm.
containers. But
Okay.
also it's the problem. Imagine you are running database within the container like SQL or
Hmm.
Postgres or something. So what you do, you run everything within the container, but you mount the drive where your data is going to store.
Yeah.
So your data will be mount from the local thing.
So
Yeah,
container will only have the configurations, but the actual data that will be on a different location.
exactly. When you mount the things, when you don't
Yeah.
mount the things, the data will be within the container.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any
Uh,
other? Yeah.
yes. Is it just for local development, like the Python image or other base image that we get from Docker Hub?
Yeah.
I think these are the snapshots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But you can actually, what you can do, Komal, I remember what I did. I created my custom image. Within that, I have Python install, I have Node install, I have Redis install, I have most of the things that is used for my local development. I have installed within that image. So I don't need to use different base images. I can just use simply
Okay.
one base image. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so guys, one task, like if you want, like Komal just said, so I can give it to all of you. Do one thing. Use one any base image like Alpine or Ubuntu. Install Node.js, Angular, and Python on that. I know this will be very difficult, but trust me, once you've done this, you're not going to forget what is image for you. Okay.
Yeah, we are trying. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cool. That's it then, guys. If no any more questions, I will wait. The call is about to end and we are on time. So please repeat again what you say. Okay. So I will, if this meeting ends, I will send what you need to do onto WhatsApp chat. Yeah.
Yeah, we simply use the base image